Okay, so let's dive in. Recently, the online world was kind of buzzing about this incident involving Kazan Piker, the big left-wing streamer.
Yeah, I saw that. He was coming back from France, landed in Chicago O'Hare, I think.
Exactly, on May 11th.
hmm
And he got stopped and questioned by CBP agents, Customs and Border Protection.
Right. And his first reaction, publicly anyway, was that he felt it was deliberate, like trying to intimidate him or silence dissent.
Yeah, that was his take. Which, given the current focus on border stuff and certain political views, maybe isn't totally out of left field.
Sure, there's definitely been more talk about stricter enforcement, people worried about being targeted for what they say or believe. We've seen those reports.
Totally. But here's where it gets really interesting and kind of central to our discussion today. Piker, despite knowing the usual advice, like the very common advice to lawyer up and stay quiet, he decided to talk to them
Oh, really? For how long?
for nearly 2 hours. He actually said on his Twitch stream afterwards that he wanted to, quote, entertain this and try to figure out what they were, trying to get from him.
Wow. Okay. That's, yeah, that's a choice. And I bet the reaction online was pretty immediate.
Oh, instantaneous
Yeah.
and strong. A lot of his own fans, his allies, were just flooding his chat and social media, basically yelling, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, doesn't surprise me. The classic advice.
Exactly. Get a lawyer, stop talking. That whole chat know your rights dink-donk meme was everywhere. It really hammered home that fundamental right to remain silent. So maybe the first big point here is standard legal advice. Say nothing.
Yeah, it really throws that tension into sharp relief, doesn't it? The impulse to explain yourself, especially if you think you're innocent, versus the very well-established legal strategy of keeping quiet without a lawyer present.
Definitely. And you have to put it in the broader context, too, like the Trump administration's push on immigration,
Mhm.
all those reports of people being detained for ages, even that French scholar incident, or trying to deport green card holders for pro-Palestinian activism,
Yeah.
it all creates this charged atmosphere.
A very tense backdrop for any kind of interaction like that at the border.
So yeah, this whole Piker thing and the reaction it stirred up, it really forces us to ask, what are your rights when you're dealing with law enforcement?
Right.
Especially, at an airport or a border crossing. And maybe the bigger question is, when should you actually use those rights?
Right. When do you invoke them? That's the crucial part.
And that's what we're really going to get into. Why do lawyers, why do activists who've been through this stuff almost universally say, don't talk?
Hmm.
Let's maybe start with that piece of advice that got brought up again because of Piker, the famous or infamous, shut the fuck up PSA.
Ah, yes, the National Lawyers Guild video
Oh.
with Bill Goodman and Denise Haberly. It's pretty direct, very memorable.
Direct is putting it mildly. It's funny, the tone is almost like, your cool but kind of hardcore activist grandparents giving you absolutely essential life-saving advice. But they deliver it so bluntly.
No messing around. And the core message is just crystal clear, isn't it?
Oh yeah, no ambiguity. Doesn't matter the situation. Are you in the back of a police van, sitting in a holding cell, cop knocking at your door, even just sending a text message they might see later?
The advice is...
Shut the fuck up. Simple as that. They cover traffic stops, just casual questioning on the street, always the same. They even say, tell your mom to shut the fuck up if the feds call her.
Yeah, they really cover the bases. And they make a point about how long this advice has been around, right?
Absolutely. This isn't new. They stress this has been the standard playbook from civil liberties lawyers, from activists for like over 50 years.
Yeah.
It's time tested.
Which brings us back to the criticism of what Piker did. You mentioned Mike Masnick at Tech Dirt.
Yeah, he wrote a piece basically saying Piker gave a master class in what not to do. Didn't mince words at all.
And Masnick's main worry, which seems pretty valid, is that Piker, with his huge audience, might have accidentally taught millions of people the wrong lesson by talking for so long.
Yeah, the idea that, oh, if you're smart, if you're quick on your feet, maybe you can talk your way through it. You can handle it.
Exactly. And that's incredibly risky, right? Because it's so easy to trip up, to say something you don't realize is problematic, to maybe waive your rights without meaning to, even if you've done absolutely nothing wrong. Self-incrimination is a real danger.
Now, to be fair, Piker did explain why he did it. He said, look, I hadn't done anything illegal. I was just curious what they were up to, what their angle was. He admitted he didn't immediately ask for a lawyer because he wanted to see where it was going.
Which, I get the human impulse there. If you feel wrongly accused, you want to clear things up, you want to explain, you think they just have the wrong idea.
But it seems like even he had second thoughts during or after. He apparently said later on his stream something like he probably should have asked, am I being detained?
Mm.
Right from the start.
Ah, okay, that specific question. That's key, and we should definitely unpack why that question matters so much.
Definitely. But it's pretty telling that even Piker, after going through it himself, ended up telling his audience, essentially, don't do what I did.
Right. That's a pretty strong reversal, and basically an endorsement of the standard advice after all.
So let's dig into why that advice is so consistent. Rhea Thompson Washington, who's the president of the National Lawyers Guild, the same group behind that PSA, has some really important insights here.
Okay, yeah. What's their perspective?
Well, a key thing they point out is that it's not enough just to know your rights. Lots of people know they have the right to remain silent. The critical part is actually using that right.
Mm-hmm. Knowing versus doing.
Exactly. They say a really common mistake people make is trying to argue with the police, trying to explain their rights to the police, or trying to convince the officers that their version of events is wrong.
And why is that a mistake?
Because basically anything you say, no matter how helpful you think you're being, can and probably will be twisted or used against you later on. It becomes part of their narrative, their report.
Right. It's not a debate club. It's an investigation, potentially.
Precisely.
Huh.
So Thompson Washington recommends having specific phrases ready. The first one, as Piker realized, is, am I being detained?
Okay. Why start there?
Because it clarifies the situation immediately. Are you free to go or not? If the answer is yes, you are being detained, the advice is crystal clear. Ask for a lawyer immediately, and then say nothing else. Zip it.
And if the answer is no, you're not being detained.
Then you are legally free to leave, and the advice is walk away and remain silent while doing so. Don't engage further.
So that question, am I being detained? It really serves a specific legal purpose.
It really does. Thompson Washington explains it signals to the officer right away that you know your rights. You understand the legal framework. You know you don't have to talk if you're not detained. And you know you need a lawyer if you are. It sets a boundary.
Got it. Now, Piker's situation was specifically at the border, at an airport checkpoint. Does that change things legally? Are your rights different there?
That's a really important point. And yes, they are different. According to Nathan Fried-Wessler at the ACLU, your usual constitutional protections, like the Fourth Amendment protection against unreasonable searches, are actually weaker at the border.
Weaker? How so?
Well, the Supreme Court has basically said the government has this huge overriding interest in controlling who and what comes into the country. So things that would normally require a warrant inside the U.S. often don't at the border. It's kind of a legal exception zone in some ways.
Okay, so what does that mean in practice for someone like Piker or anyone going through customs?
It means CBP can do things like search your bags without a warrant.
Yeah.
That would generally need a judge's approval inland. They absolutely have the authority to verify your citizenship, ask you basic questions about your trip, where you went, why, what you're bringing back. That's all standard.
But is there a line they shouldn't cross with questioning?
Yes, definitely. They shouldn't be asking questions that dig into your First Amendment rights, like your political beliefs, who you associate with, your religious practices, questions like, who did you vote for, or what mosque do you attend? Those are generally seen as inappropriate, and you don't have to answer them.
Okay. What about phones and laptops? That's a big one these days.
Huge. So CBP can generally do what's called a manual search of your devices, basically, look through what's readily accessible, but, and this is key, they cannot legally force you to give them your passcode or unlock it with biometrics.
Ah, so that's why Piker mentioned disabling Face ID or fingerprint unlock.
Exactly. It's sound advice. If they can't compel the passcode and you've disabled the easy biometric access, it makes it much harder for them to get into the deeper contents of your device without more legal justification.
Okay. But let's say you decide to answer their appropriate questions, the basic travel stuff. Are there still risks, even if you genuinely believe you've done nothing wrong and have nothing to hide?
Yes, absolutely. And this is where it gets tricky. Fried-Wessler from the ACLU points out that any information you give them, even seemingly harmless stuff, becomes part of a permanent record CBP keeps on you.
A permanent record, wow.
Yeah, and that record can be shared with other government agencies. It could potentially be used down the line for things like putting people on watch lists or just general intelligence gathering. You don't know how it might connect to other things later.
That feels unsettling. You're just trying to answer basic questions and it ends up in some database.
It is unsettling, and the ACLU has seen cases where this plays out in unexpected ways. They've documented situations where, say, CBP searched a U.S. citizen's phone, not because the citizen was a target, but because some other agency asked them to. Maybe looking for information about a non-citizen relative or even a business contact of that citizen.
So the questions might not even really be about you directly, even if they're asking you?
Exactly. You might just be a link in a chain, or they might be fishing for something completely unrelated to your own travel. You just don't know their real motive or how the information will be used.
Which really circles back to that advice about silence, doesn't it? If you don't know the game, maybe don't play.
Very much. And it connects to that final point from Thompson, Washington at the NLG, this idea of solidarity. It's not just about protecting yourself,
How so?
because what you say could potentially harm others. Maybe someone you know, maybe people involved in activist movements you support. By choosing to remain silent, you're not just protecting your own interests, you're also, in a way, acting in solidarity with others who might be targeted by this system.
That adds another layer to it. Silence is a collective act.
Yeah, and they put it really powerfully with a quote, something like, if they come for me at night, they're going to come for you in the morning, and when they come for me, I'm going to shut the fuck up, period.
Wow. Okay, that leaves no room for doubt.
None at all. It just reinforces that core message we've been circling around. When you're dealing with law enforcement, especially in these border situations or any potentially adversarial encounter, the overwhelming advice from experts, from activists, from decades of experience is just remain silent. Assert your rights by not speaking without counsel.
And Piker's experience, even though he maybe went into it with curiosity or thinking he could handle it, really just ends up highlighting why that standard advice exists.
Yeah.
Talking, even if you're innocent, can open doors you didn't intend to open.
Absolutely. So maybe the final thought to leave you with is this. Really consider the power dynamics at play in any interaction with law enforcement. It's not an equal conversation. And that simple act, choosing silence, choosing not to engage without a lawyer, might feel awkward or even counterintuitive, but it can be an incredibly important way to assert your rights, protect yourself, and maybe even protect others.
Definitely worth thinking about. And we'd encourage you, if you want to know more specifics, check out the resources from places like the National Lawyers Guild or the ACLU. They have detailed guides on your rights in various situations.